Hello everyone, my name is Michael and I am speaking to you from the verse. Now if you're not sure what the verse is, I encourage you to go to my website at rewritingtheverse.com. That's where you'll find all the YouTube videos as well as some written updates, so I encourage you to go there and check me out. So this video is connected to the upcoming 9/22/2020 Equinox portal. It is a portal connected to the ascension process, and therefore I was called again to do a past life regression and rewrite. And so for those of you that don't know me, I am a past life regressionist and I have the ability to rewrite outcomes. And I am typically called to use twin flame and divine masculine, divine feminine, or divine counterparts timelines, because they pack a lot of energy. And they do seem to help as we go up through these portals. They seem to give us a lot of lift. And so once again, I did do a past life regression today. And I will, actually this is a highlights video, so I already just did a video of the full length in detail past life regression and rewrite. I did a live rewrite on that video. I will attach the link below for that and you can see exactly what happened. But this is the highlights video. So I will share just the basics about the nuts and bolts of it and then what came through at the end at the rewrite. This timeline was approximately 200 to 210 years ago. So we're talking towards the first decade or so of 1800, and it was started in Kentucky and Tennessee, ended up being connected to politics, and specifically as these twin flames came together, they eventually ended up being connected to the Andrew Jackson administration. So I had no idea who these people were, but I was guided to look up certain facts to see if I could find people that fit into the story, and I did. Again, for the details on that, just go ahead and go to the full-length video to find out who exactly we're talking about. So that's the time frame, and politics were definitely a part of it. And so the highlights at the end. So once I saw what I needed to see, I went back, and yes, there was a point that needed to be rewritten so that these two twin flames actually would have a higher level impact on the overall government than they did even as being on an administration for a president. And so that's ultimately what needed to change. They needed to change course as far as actually which president they ended up working the most closely with, which ended up being James Madison is actually who they ended up being more connected to. And they actually followed more of the judicial branch of politics. Before that, they weren't in the judicial, even though they were both lawyers. They followed a different route. But no, in this rewrite, their best path was to go that route. And so I want to say what date it is. Today is 9/19/2020. And yesterday, I didn't find out until last night, maybe around 10 p.m. or so Central Time in the US, I found out about Ruth Ginsburg passing. Now, what I want to say is before I ever found that out, earlier in the day, I had started the past life regression. And I only got part way through it. Sometimes, it's not as easy. Okay, universe, tell me exactly what to do right now, right in my time. No, they do it when they do it. And so I only got part way into it, and then it wasn't going to open up anymore. And I saw enough to see that. Well, actually, the twin flames in this were not romantic. They were very close friends and ultimately had a mission. It was more mission based, but anyway, so William and John are actually our twin flames. And where was I going with that? I sidetracked a little bit there. Anyway, those are our twin flames. And they were the ones that ultimately, their common mission was they needed to go through the political route, through the judicial system. That's where they had a much bigger and more profound impact. And if I didn't mention already, I'm a little kind of went backwards and I got to remember where I was. If I didn't mention it already, yes, they were working with James Madison now instead of Andrew Jackson. They end up with, still working with presidents and such, but in different times and in different ways. So, the rewrite. Okay, yeah, going back to Ginsburg. Okay, I knew up until that point. I only knew up to the point where he had agreed to marry somebody, and William was the main person. I followed through much of it. That he actually, sorry, I keep going back and forth. I need to stop that. I knew he was going to become a lawyer, that was a part of the original plan. And even though the rewrite hadn't been identified yet, or I didn't even see the second half yet, I knew that politics were part of his future. And so, so that's how much I knew. I knew politics and that he was going to be a lawyer. And it wasn't until later that evening that I found out about Ginsburg passing. And I went, oh, okay, this is why the timing of this. Because I knew he needed to go a different route. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I felt it was connected. And that somehow he was connected to what was the Supreme Court is going through right now. The idea of having to bring in someone new. Just what's going to happen now, especially now that we've got an upcoming presidential election. There's going to be a lot of pressure to get somebody in there ahead of time, at least by some, and some are going to try to stall it, right? And all this political stuff that's going to go on around it. But anyway, I knew, the Ginsburg thing means something about the Supreme Court. So, I just wanted said that I was actually visiting and sharing with my friend Arcana Star earlier that evening about what I had seen so far in that past life regression. So, you're going to have to take my word for it, I guess, that I did get that much information about this past life regression before I even knew about the Supreme Court issue that was going to happen. Okay, so now getting to the end of it, now that things are rewritten, and now that, yes, William and his twin flame John end up being not only eventually Supreme Court justices, but they play a very key role in the very first major case. At least that when I looked up first major cases, and I didn't put in a time or anything, I just said, what are your top ones? This was number one, at least chronologically. It was when the very first major case was between, I think I'm pronouncing it right, somebody named Mabry versus Madison. Somebody was suing James Madison. And I can't remember for sure if it was during his presidency or before, but it was still, James ends up being president one way or the other. So, and this is how, by following the judicial route, this is how William and John end up getting connected with Madison, who was also a judge himself, not a justice, but a judge, so he knew that system. Ultimately, they're able to get in, and it was that court case that had William specifically say something's wrong. Something's going on. Their decision, the decision of judicial review came from that case, which I'm not an expert at all in law, but based on what I read, it makes it sounds like that, they made themselves gods. And that there's really actually nothing in the Constitution that says that there needs to be a body or an entity like the Supreme Court. The little I read about it basically said it implied that something like that should be in existence, so therefore it was, and very conveniently created something out of nothing, it sounds like. Now, I'm not saying that we don't need some sort of judicial oversight, for sure. I agree with that, but that there was something about that order, or that decision, that was fundamentally off, and therefore for the last 200 plus years, the Supreme Court has not run in its most ethical way that it could have or should have, and definitely has been corrupted by all areas of the government, but yes, the Supreme Court as well. So in the rewrite by William and John ultimately becoming Supreme Court justices, and whatever they did prior to that, they authored, is my understanding in this rewrite, authored a new version of the judicial review. Something that, would keep it from being corrupted, and really it stood for the people. Just like how all the other government agencies are supposed to be standing for the people, we know, I think it's obvious to everybody, that is not the case much of the time. Not all the time, but much of the time. The people are the last ones that are considered in decisions. That ultimately, the Supreme Court in the rewrite needed to be an independent entity. It was actually a good thing that it wasn't necessarily connected to the Constitution. Somehow that distance would give them a more of a unbiased eye, maybe. Whatever the case is, whatever was set up with the original judicial review decision definitely opened it up to be misused, and misused by the other branches. Everybody's scratching each other's back, and the people are just at the mercy of all of that, because nobody's really holding anybody accountable. So by William and John moving into these positions, bringing in, justice at a whole nother level, I guess, but definitely fairness, independence, really looking at the decisions without, that's the person that, or one of the people from the group that, or the party that I'm supposedly backing, that all the agendas, to actually just have people make decisions based on the facts, on the truth, on what's best for the people. They helped keep the purity of the idea, at least, intact. Now, is it perfect? Probably not. But now with the rewrite happening and them being in place, we now have had over 200 years of the judicial system, especially at that level. And if you hold it at that level up there, guess what happens? Below it becomes more in alignment with it as well. So, our entire government, because even if it's not the judicial system itself, you've got at least two other major entities that are connected to it, it affects the whole thing. And it makes it a whole lot harder for anybody else to try to influence things and push their own agendas, when you've got at least one out of the three that are really trying to work for the good. So, 200 years. It's almost the entire lifetime of the United States. This can change a lot of things on this planet. It has changed. Okay, I'm just going to declare that. Once that was rewritten, so many things were connected to the Supreme Court. So now what's happening right now has given an opening for somebody to come into that position. And by the way, thank you, Ruth. Okay, I do not want to step over her or in any way take away from who she is and what she did. I do believe she did her best to work in a very corrupt system to try to bring some equality and, you know, for women and minorities, and being surrounded more and more by people that are very conservative, and it's being stacked that way on purpose by the government. But this is what they've always done. What you're seeing now is what they were even doing back then, probably trying to constantly influence things to benefit other people's agendas. Well, I'm saying that what happened tonight means that whoever is finally chosen for that position, and I'm not saying it'll be obvious that that person is any different than anybody else either, but there's a different vibration now, a different level of integrity that seat holds, and that overall entity holds. So I'm curious to see who ends up in that position, because this is a whole new ballgame for everybody. So I thank you all for being here. Again, I encourage you to go to the full-length video that I will put a link on here, and so check it out. It's actual real people in history. You'll be able to find out their actual names in the full-length one, and look them up if you want. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of information about the two men that I refer to most, but, you know, they were real people in history. So, thank you all, and for now, peace and joy. Bye-bye.